Okay, so our third skill for today is the skill of validation. Now, once again, this might sound really obvious to some, but it is an essential part of compassion-focused space holding. Why should we validate and why should we ensure that our clients feel seen and heard and understood in their experience? Well, mainly because most people, when they come to work with you, will have some aspect of shame or not good enoughness tied into their experience of self. Now, I've never worked with anybody in my life who does not have a not good enough statement, whether that be I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not capable enough, or even the experience of like I'm too much. I'm too much, I'm an inconvenience, I'm a burden, I'm too loud, I'm too this, I'm too that, right? So when we work with this, which is the experience of shame, by the way, when we work with that feeling of shame, shame makes a person feel inherently flawed or broken in some way, which separates them from the rest of humanity, right? Like, I am wrong, I am bad, I am different, therefore, I don't fit in. And it's that feeling that brings about our anxiety or brings about our defensiveness or brings about our shutdown, our isolation, our feelings of hopelessness and this like separation or isolation that we may have from the world. So, remembering what I spoke about earlier with those 3 Ds of trauma, one of them being disconnection, this is one of the main experiences that arises because of the emotion of shame. It disconnects us from ourselves, but also really just from the world at large, from the people around us. It makes us believe that we are broken or faulty in some way, and therefore we do not belong. So, as a space holder, as a coach or a practitioner, one of the most healing things that we can do is to validate our client's experience of self, right? Because, coming back to that root word of compassion, meaning to suffer with, validation is me meeting my client as a fellow human who is in this messy human experience together, navigating it and acknowledging that yes, life is messy, life is hard, and I too have had the same emotions and experiences that you are speaking of, right? What shame needs in order to relieve itself, or in order for us to feel a sense of relief around shame, is belonging, connection, to realize that we actually aren't alone. I mean, this is one of the main reasons why group therapy and retreats and things like that are so powerful, because when a person sits and realizes that other people feel similarly and have similar stories, they realize that actually we're all connected, that we're actually not separate, and that all of us are going through it together, right? In that famous quote, we're all just walking each other home, right? So, how do we validate our clients, and what are some really helpful skills to be able to interject into our client sessions? The first skill is something, it's another micro skill of communication that is usually associated with like counseling and talk therapy, but it's really, really effective as a skill for validation. And this is the skill of being able to summarize and reflect back or paraphrase what our client is sharing with us. Now, imagine that you're a client and you're sitting down and you're explaining to your coach, something that you've just experienced, and they hear you and then they just go straight into asking a question about that, or they go into giving you some advice. Do you feel seen, heard, and understood in what you've shared? Highly likely the answer is no, right? This person's just gone on to the next thing. The beauty of summarizing and paraphrasing or reflecting back, what we're hearing enables the other person to be like, oh, she gets it, right? She understands me. So, what we want to be able to do is to listen to the story. And then using our own words, we want to be able to say, okay, so and so, whatever the name of the person is, what I've heard is da 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 da. Is that correct? Right? So that person will be like, yes, that's right. They feel seen, heard, and understood. They feel validated. Or I can actually validate, the feelings that I'm hearing. And I can actually say, oh, wow, you've had this, and this, or you've experienced this, and this. And what I'm hearing is like, that must be so frustrating for you. And when I can paraphrase and summarize back, incorporating not only the story, but also the feeling that the client is experiencing in my own words, it gives them this like really, it's a really like feeling of homecoming. It's like, oh my God, finally someone understands me. Finally, someone is seeing things through my unique lens and the way that I am experiencing the world. And for a person to experience that, it is exactly what their shame needs to no longer feel so alone and so isolated. The second thing that I want you to think about is empathy, right? Now, you might think this is such an obvious thing when it comes to coaching and space holding to be empathic, but there are ways that we can really showcase our empathy. And that is by the way that we are holding the space for them and in the way that we are acknowledging their human experience, right? So if I am giving someone sympathy, right? This is kind of like perpetuating that healed versus unhealed fixer mindset kind of dynamic we were talking about earlier. But if I can actually, like, if I'm giving someone sympathy, then it's me saying to them, like, oh, you poor thing, that really sucks for you. Or, oh, that's really sad that that's happened to you. Kind of as if to say, well, that's never happened to me, or like, I don't, you're someone who's still like in this world of unhealedness that only you would be experiencing that, but I'm not experiencing that. But I feel sorry for you. And when we feel sorry for somebody else, that perpetuates their shame. Oh, if they feel sorry for me, then it must mean I am bad. It must mean I am wrong. It must mean I am faulty because otherwise they wouldn't be feeling sorry for me. So sympathy is very different to empathy. Empathy is me to say to them, wow, I may not have walked the exact same situation as you, but I can empathize with the emotions that you are having. And I can imagine how hard that must have been for you when I really take the time to put myself in your shoes and to really understand how that must have felt for you in that time. So, as a space holder, for us to be able to have empathy and to showcase that through the way that we may, gesture throughout their stories, how we may, say to them, wow, that must have been really hard for you, or I imagine that must have been really frustrating for you. It's those little moments of empathy that enable them to feel seen, heard, and validated. Now, the other thing that sometimes people can do, especially when they feel uncomfortable, when people are sharing, difficult experiences or emotion, is that they can become overly positive in that instance. So what we may call toxic positivity, where they will say like, oh, that's okay. Like I'm sure things will get better soon. Or, other people do have it worse. So, I guess in hindsight, it's not that big a deal. Like if we try to always find the silver lining and we're always trying to, I guess, bubble wrap the situation that has happened, once again, like we're not teaching that person how to feel safe with their emotions, first and foremost. We're not normalizing the messiness of the human experience. And it kind of like avoids and like I said, bubble wraps this situation up. Like, oh, we don't want to talk about that. And that creates a lack of trust between your client and you. And it doesn't feel very validating to just have something really serious that I've shared be kind of met with this overly positive thing, when really what I'm seeking is to be understood in that moment. The last thing that I'll share on validation is how important it is to normalize your client's emotions and experiences. The reality of life, as I've mentioned previously, is that it is messy, it is hard, and that we as humans experience a whole range of human emotion. Sometimes those emotions can make us feel good, and sometimes they can make us feel really uncomfortable. And this is all normal, right? So remembering that shame makes us feel like I am abnormal, this is wrong, I am bad, I am faulty. The opposite of that is like, no, you're not. You're normal. You're human. So, a big part of compassion focused care is to not make the other person bad or wrong. It's to be able to meet them where they're at with compassion, which remember derives from that word compati, to suffer with, and to be in that suffering with them and to normalize it. Yes, life is hard sometimes. Yes, it is so normal to feel sad when this happens. Yes, I completely understand why you would have felt angry at your partner. Or yes, I completely understand why you went into your childlike coping mechanisms in that moment, because it reminded you of what happened when you were a child. It's normal. This is the way that it is to be a human, right? And so when someone can feel normalized, like when their experiences are normalized, there is this, like, once again, a breath of fresh air, like, oh, like I don't have to like hold on to this pressure of being the perfect human. Actually, what I'm experiencing is normal. So it helps a client to move away from shame and to move away from those thoughts and beliefs that they were having and more into just the realization that, like, okay, let me just meet myself where I'm at. And when I can do that as a client, I'm shifting away from this overthinking, maybe perfectionistic kind of mindset of who I should be, and I'm able to move into being more self-compassionate for me, which means I'm able to practice non-judgment and acceptance of myself. It's not until I can be accepting of myself the way I am that I start to see the myriad of possibilities that lie in front of me to help me navigate the situation with more grace and more ease. If I resist the experience of being human, then, like, I'm not able to fully live my life as I want it to be because I'm denying something that is fundamentally a part of our experience, which is that it is messy and it is emotional and it is hard at times. So normalize as much as you can, and this will help your client to normalize themselves, to accept themselves, and to stop meeting themselves with so much judgment and bias.